I call this Altoona City Council meeting to order Monday, June 9th, 6 p.m. We'll now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, would you take roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty. Here. Councilman Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilwoman Klinich. Here. Vice Mayor Ellis.
Here.
Councilman Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly is absent. Mayor Pacifico.
Here. Our first presentation tonight is the Blair Regional YMCA. Joining us is Phyllis Baker and Frank Capriva to talk about the Angie Giosa 4th of July race.
Good evening. It doesn't seem like it's been a year since we were here, but here we are. We're here to say thank you for letting us have another Angie Giosa Memorial 4th of July race. This will be the 52nd year of this event. We're just happy to keep the tradition going and appreciate the support of the city. Last year, we had over 900 participants at the event, including the little free lollipop race for the kids. And 40% of those participants were Altoona residents. And so it is truly an Altoona race. And that that 40% makes up more of the participation than the rest of Blair County residents combined for this particular race. We had ages 1 through 85 participate in the event and finish. And then we also had 9 different states represented in participation outside of Pennsylvania, as far away as the state of Washington. So just a pretty neat event to have on the 4th of July, and we're looking forward to it again this year. So thank you all.
And it's not lost on us, just the work that you folks put in, from the fire chief and your folks putting out the hydrants and everybody running through them, to the police chief and all of you folks keeping our roads safe and having the participants know that they're going to have a safe race, not that they're going to get hit by a car. And also city council. I mean, this is a big deal. It is on a Friday this year, and it is the 4th of July. You know, we're like, we don't mind working the 4th of July, but we know some people do mind working the 4th of July. So we really appreciate it. If you haven't been to one of the races, we would suggest you come down. Jesse, you've seen it, and Mayor Pacifico, you've seen it, just how crazy it is. You have 900 people, but they usually bring 2 or 3 other people with them. So you're talking about like 18 to 2,000 people plus down at the Heritage Plaza. When they come around Curry signs at that building and you see all those people running towards you, or when you're looking at, 12th Avenue and you're past the cathedral and you see all these folks, that's because you folks allow us to do this, and we are grateful for that. So thanks again. And Mayor Pacifico, if you can be there, that's great. If not, send
I will be. Yeah, I'm good.
Super.
Yeah.
And I know, Jesse, you're running. So we really appreciate it. And come on down and see it. It's really great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for keeping the race in the city. I will be running the 15K this year. It won't be fast, but I was built for feed, not for speed. So.
Well, what's great about that is the residents in the city, they'll come out with their hoses and they'll have their own water station. So, Jesse, although you do see God on Ruskin Drive, he's just there to encourage you not to take you out. So have a great race.
See you in race day. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Attorney Jens Damgaard from Eckert Siemens and Brad Kelly, Water Authority Director of Wastewater Operations, to talk about the Penvest loan for sanitary sewer system replacement.
Thank you. Brad Kelly, Director of Wastewater Operations for the Altoona Water Authority. We put this presentation together to kind of give you a view from pictures and videos of what we do with our combined system. So the first slide here is our system. It's broken into 2 basins, the easterly and westerly system. But in the middle, there's a little bit area that's gray, which is the combined area. And the combined area not only collects sanitary sewer, but also all the rainwater that comes from the streets into the storm basins, which makes Altoona unique. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of our CSO facilities. On the left is our easterly CSO facility down by Peoples and Craig's Fencing. And on our right is our westerly CSO facility in an area known as Tuckahoe Park. From an outside view, it doesn't look like there's much there, but underground there's over 1 million gallons of storage in these CSOs. Next, please. So in our PennVest loan that we applied for is the replacement of the CSO bar screens. These were installed in 1989, so they've reached their useful life. And to keep those going, we do run into some challenges. And Altoona was one of the first in the United States to do this type of treatment with wet weather flows. Next slide. So this picture here shows our bar screens on the front end. We have this rake and screen mechanism that as the water flows into the system, it catches debris. And the debris could be from sanitary to also what's collected on the road system. The rakes come up through the screens and pulls the debris out. Next slide. So here's the backside of some of the debris that's pulled out. This is called the scraper. What it does is remove the debris from the bar screen itself. So this is a picture of our conveyor. So it falls on the conveyor and just moves it from point A to point B for collection. And this is what we call our waste pit. On average, we collect 25 tons per year out of the CSOs, and then we dispose of this material. In this picture, you could see the rags to bottles to straws. Like I said, the reason of replacement is, one is the end of useful life. Also, the manufacturer doesn't support the bar screens anymore. So anytime we need to do any replacements, we need to do some fabrication, which is either from in-house fabrication to local shops. Some of those parts may take 6 months to get. We also have received violations from the department because it is a requirement to keep them up and running. And with the turnaround time and hard to get the parts, sometimes we don't have all those running. Next slide. So this one here is a video that looks at how a bar screen works and kind of the new technology that we're looking at, which is called FlexRate. So this is just demonstrating how the bar screen moves and what type of debris comes through and how it's collected. So as debris builds up, the rakes just bring it up vertical to dump onto our conveyor. What's unique about the FlexRate screens, there's no sprockets or any mechanical parts down at the bottom. So anytime that we need to work on it, we don't have to go below grade. And that's just a picture of some grit that was collected. Now it's showing some leaves that come into the system, which we experience on a daily basis, not only at our CSO during rain events, but also at our treatment plants. Like I said, there's no sprockets below grade on this, so as bigger debris comes down the system, 2x4s, rocks, the flex screen will actually jump over the material until it can get a hold of it and pull it up. Our current screens with the sprockets, that actually puts some torque on the gearbox and we break the chains. I'd like to say I've never seen a pipe or a log come through our system, but we have. Not only have we seen tires, but we've seen shopping carts as well. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Have you gone out of town to see these in action in other places?
We currently have these in action at both of our easterly and westerly plants.
Oh, so you have sets of them already?
Yeah, we have 6, 8 sets of them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. I'm Jens Damgaard, and I've had the pleasure of working with the city now for a number of years, and as also with the Altoona Water Authority. I'm sorry to have to say this, but it reminds me of my first tour of a sewage treatment plant. It was down in Chestnut Ridge. And I remember going to the first stop was, this is the screen. And I look at it and I said, well, why are people flushing all these colorful balloons? Oh, they weren't balloons. Anyway, yeah, that gave me the same kind of look. So I guess what we're talking about here, first reading of an ordinance, as the city has done in the past, where as a condition of the loan, that the authority was successful in getting yet another 1% 20-year loan. So kudos to them. The loan amount, $6,750,000 for the screen system that you just saw. And Penvest is asking that the city guarantee the loan. And that makes sense because, as you'll recall, the city is the title owner of the sewer system, as it is for the water, and simultaneously leased it to the authority for operation and rate setting. So the authority is charged with all the activities regarding both utility systems and orchestrating the borrowings through governmental lenders and private lending. The city has done some borrowing in the past when their bond issues are involved. But here, the payments under the lease, to the extent that there is a shortfall and full faith, credit, and taxing power of the city are pledged in the event of a shortfall in the payments of the pledged sewer revenues in this case. Same scenario. I mean, I was here about a year ago. We talked about water system improvements, but it works the same way. It's, again, it's fixed rate, 1% for the construction period, which will be, what, a year-ish or so? About a year, plus then the first 5 years. So about 6 years fixed at 1%, and then it goes to 1.743% for the remaining 15 years. So obviously a very good deal for the residents and ratepayers of this city and surrounding communities. So I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the requirements of the guarantee. Really nothing, you're not required to budget. There's language in here about budgeting, but that would only be if there was a net shortfall as projected. The city would receive the annual budgets that the authority prepares, showing that the revenues will be sufficient in the coming year to make all its debt service payments. To make the city even provide further comfort, one of the documents we'll be filing with the state is what we call a self-liquidating debt report. That's a report prepared by Gwynn Dobson to show and project the revenues coming from the sewer system throughout the 20-plus year term of the loan. And they give the opinion that the revenues will be sufficient based on some assumptions on operating costs and future rates, will be sufficient to cover this debt and exist in addition to the other sewer debt.
Any questions for
If
Jens?
anything occurs to you between now and your second reading, please reach out to the administration and we can certainly answer those questions, or to the authority if it's a project question.
Thank you, Jens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CZB had to cancel their Saldo and zoning ordinance presentation, so they will be at the June 23rd work session. Before we get into public comment, we have an agenda item that we have to take action on now prior to public comment because it's incomplete on the agenda. So we need to, where is it? Item M, appointing a council member to the Blighted Property Review Committee. I would like to make a motion to appoint Councilman Butterbaugh to that.
And I'll second that motion.
We have a motion to appoint Councilman Butterbaugh to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 2 years. And we have a motion by Mayor Pacifico and a second by Councilwoman Klinich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will open the floor for public comment. If anybody would like to address council, come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes. And with that, the floor is open.
Good evening. Bill Scully, 321 Maple Avenue. I've been in working Altoona and around Altoona since the mid-'90s, but I became a resident in 2001. My wife and I, Deborah, have freedom excursions locally here. And as of August of last year, and most of the couple issues I wanted to discuss are downtown issues. As of August of last year, we began leasing an office downtown, office space. And we had been out on Pleasant Valley Boulevard, but that lease ran out, and we wanted to be downtown to try to make a difference. Things are happening. Now, you have to remember, as a transplant, I wasn't here in the glory days of the gable buildings and all that. So I moved in downtown with what's taken place, what we have, and the situation that's down there. So we moved in downtown. The challenging, one of the issues that we've had lately, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that, is some of the homeless people and issues. And I know a lot of them by name, so it's not of those people type thing. I mean, I've met some of them, I talk to them, I get their story, I hear it. But the challenge we're having is just some of the trash. I've dealt with a couple people with trash issues, and you'll be happy to know that one of the gentlemen that's downtown, that's in and out, his name's Dallas. He assured me that the city pays people to clean up after him. So you'll be happy to know that. It's a mentality that you deal with. Twice within a week, I've had to clean up places where somebody's defecated, and that's not a good situation at all. Not a good reflection on the city. The latest, and this happened twice in the same week, but the latest was Sunday the 1st, when we had the Saturate Altoona. One of the restrooms down there was open. I assume, and I don't know any of this for a fact, that's part of the reason we're having want to have this discussion, that there's one available for homeless people down there. I don't know. But it appeared, just checking everything as we check everything, trash cans and everything as we get started for safety issues, that somebody had stood on in the restroom and just kind of went just all over the back wall and down the seat and everything. So, you got 800 people coming down, and one restroom was like that. We had to make a trip to get a power washer to get that cleaned up and get it at least presentable. Don't know what the solution is. That's why we have you folks. And I don't know whether it's a matter of further policing. I don't know, for something like that. It's a good thing we were there early to kind of check things out. But it's gotten a little bit out of control down there. I think the number of people, it seems what I see, just wandering around, and people that are kind of really questionable is down. But there's just some that are there and living in places down there that they need to be moving on someplace with the nicer weather. That's becoming an issue. And again, I don't know if there's a restroom available to them down there, if there's one that's left open, that's monitored on a daily basis. I don't know. But that's some of the issues we're seeing that's kind of challenging. And with the addition of the new business and the different things, that's probably been going on all along. But when there wasn't anybody downtown, maybe it wasn't noticed in some of the corners and places. I don't know. And then The second issue we have, which is ongoing, everybody I know is having a challenge with, is the parking issue. And I know there's some big city ideas. We get into all the different cities and we get into all the apps and all that type of stuff. And half the time the apps don't work. Trust me, from traveling what I do, it's a challenge. If I need a place to park and I've got to download an app, it's crazy. And you know, you got older folks, of course, that don't get into any of that type of stuff either. I understand the need to be able to get, you know, some revenue out of the parking situation. I don't know that it's ever going to be a profit center. Where we're at the Columns building, there's signs, and we were told when we moved in, and I know Chris was under the understanding, and there's been signs at the back of that space for 25 or 30 years that those spaces were designated for the Columns. So there was something grandfathered, something official. There wasn't just something that somebody dreamed up and left signs there for all that time. And of course, they were removed by the new parking authority or entity, whatever that would be. And so there's just some issues there. They're being challenged, and I know with people coming in and finding parking and what they have to go through, there's a little bit on the challenging end too, as well. So, anybody have any questions for me?
The restrooms that you're referring, are they in the transportation center or where?
There are
Plaza.
some porta-johns that are over by the where the train platform is at the Heritage
They're
the Heritage
portable?
Center. Yes, the
Oh,
portable
okay,
ones. Yeah.
all right, okay.
And I know the other ones are locked up, I think, all the time. I'm not sure if they get unlocked for Saturate Altoona or not, but yeah, the ones that I'm referring to are the portable ones down there. Correct.
I was just curious. I didn't.
Yes.
I knew.
Yep.
I didn't know they were there.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe you guys know if there is something public down there for those folks. I don't know.
We got the porta potties as a solution because of the problem that you were talking about. People are also using the 13th Street crossover as a restroom. We've been having issues there. We're very aware of this. Let me just go back to that. We're very aware of this problem down there. Councilman Ellis and I have had several meetings with social service agencies. I know Chief Swope has kind of ramped up the police's efforts for patrolling in and around downtown as well. We're trying, but it's not an easy fix. It really isn't.
Yeah, when I had the issues that we had up on our end of the street, I thought, well, it might make sense if there is something public available, until I went into the public restroom downtown, and you know, so down at the Porta-John, I said, well, there's that theory goes out the window, because we can't even use that.
The restrooms that are the permanent restrooms that are down there, that's up to the discretion of the individuals who are renting the plaza if they want to open those, because you know they'd have to maintain them then at the end of the night as well, and
Okay.
you know, restock things. So that's completely up to the people renting the plaza if they want to use the restrooms.
Sounds good. Yeah, anything we can help out with. I mean, since we've moved down there, we keep the alley behind us from 12th, 13th Street. We keep it picked up. I mean, I have a guy that comes in that works for me every Monday, and we get down through. And it's interesting, as you keep it clean, it seems to stay clean too. So, I mean, that's just a thought as any place else. If you kind of get it cleaned up, and of course, if you police it and you, I wouldn't say threaten people, but give them a difficult time, it seems to help a little bit too. So, all right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other public comment, we will close the floor and go into the resolutions. Linda?
Item A is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, May 12th, 2025. Item B is approving the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the AFSCME District Council Number 83 for the school crossing guards covering the period January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027, and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is authorizing a winter maintenance agreement between the city and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the period of winter of 2025-26 through the winter of 2029-30, with the compensation amount as described in the attached agreement to be deposited in the Highway Aid Fund, further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is awarding the 2025 Capitol Street Reconstruction Project to New Enterprise Stone and Lime of New Enterprise, PA, in the amount of $1,217,006.11 payable from the capital budget and highway aid, further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Items I'm sorry, wrong page. Items E through H are all awarding demolition bids. I'll give you the address. They're all to G&R Excavating and Demolition. I'll give you the bid address and the amount, and they're all from the City of Altoona Altogether Altoona Fund, and they're all further authorizing the city manager to execute all the documents and the city clerk to attest to same. The first one is item E, and it's for the bid. The demolition bid is for 127 6th Avenue in the amount of $13,940. The item F is at 131 East 5th Avenue and in the amount of $19,480. Item G is 915 6th Avenue and it's for $18,940. Item H is 1002 3rd Avenue and it's for $16,530. Item I is 2105 Washington Avenue. Now, I and J are with, they are also demolition bids. They're with Lecky's Demolition Service of Johnstown. And item I is 2105 Washington Avenue in the amount of $11,500. And item J is 1006 20th Avenue, and it's in the amount of $22,900. Item K is amending the 2021 Home ARP grant, allocating an additional $1,344 to the Home ARP Administration Project. Item L is approving a contract for police services with the Altoona Housing Authority for the period July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item M is appointing Councilman Dave Butterbaugh to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 2 years. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2027. Item N is appointing Redevelopment Authority of Altoona member Alan Thompson to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 2 years. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2027. Item O is appointing Altoona City Planning Commission member Drew Brennan to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 2 years. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2027. Item P is appointing Matthew Zupon to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 1 year. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2026. Item Q is appointing Devin Henninger of the Blighted Property to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 1 year. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2026. And now the next group are all repository bids, and they would be items R through BB. They're all approving repository bids, and they're all going to be authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district forms. The first one is item R, and it is in the amount of $100 submitted to Ralph Smith of Altoona for property located at 1821 to 23 Walton Avenue. Item S is in the amount of $900 submitted to Ralph Smith for property located at 1825 to 27 Walton Avenue. The next one is item T in the amount of $200 submitted by Chris Widley for property located at 1404 18th Street. The next one is item U in the amount of $800.40 submitted by Julian Vaugh of Altoona for property located at 1811 8th Avenue. The next one is item V. It's in the amount of $150 submitted by Barry Knoll of Gallitzin for property located at 1616 11th Street. The next item is in the amount of $150 submitted by Barry Knoll of Gallitzin for 1618 11th Street. The next item is item X in the amount of $1 submitted by Jerry Rawl of 1520 18th Street for property located at 1514 to 16 18th Street and 1518 to 18th Street, 1518 18th Street. The next one is item Y. It's in the amount of $500 submitted by Compass Geographic, care of David Black, for property located at 3127 to 33 7th Avenue. And item Z is in the amount of $500 submitted by Compass Geographic. It is for property located at 417 to 19 South 8th Street. Double A is a repository bid submitted by Modi Tulesa of Minnesota, and each property is in the amount of $25. The first one's 2609 Maple Ave, 1814 11th Ave, 1514 to 16 18th Street, 1509 First Avenue, 1429 Washington, 1618 11th Street, 1904 10th Street, 902 10th Street, 1616 11th Street, 1404 18th Street, 1124 to 26 17th Avenue, 227 East 5th Avenue, 1120 17th, 209 and a half 10th Street, 810 6th Avenue, 2024 5th Avenue, 2005 to 07 3rd Avenue, 2015 13th Avenue, 1009 18th Avenue, 607 3rd Avenue, 312 Howard Avenue. And BB is also by the same gentleman, Modi Tulesa of Minnesota. Each property amount of $25, located at 1811 8th Avenue, 1511 3rd Avenue, 819 6th Avenue, 1521 20th Avenue, 1700 02 3rd Avenue, 3127 to 33 7th Avenue, and 1823 13th Avenue. Are there anything that needs to be added or pulled for separate vote?
Oh my, yes. U, X, Y, Z, AA, and BB, and I'm surprised nobody yelled bingo.
Okay.
And Linda, I'd like to pull Q,
Q?
yeah, for a separate vote.
Let me get another. Okay. All right. We will first do the consent vote on all items excluding items U, X, Y, Z, double A, double B, and Q. Councilman Beatty.
Yes,
Councilman Butterbaugh.
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
Yes.
Councilman Ickes.
Yes.
Councilman Kelly is absent. Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
And the consent vote passes 6-0. Next, we will do item U. Approving a repository bid in the amount of $800.40 submitted by Julian Vaugh of Altoona for property located 1811 8th Avenue. Councilman Beatty.
no,
Councilman Butterbaugh.
No.
Councilwoman Klinich.
No.
Councilman Ellis.
No.
Councilman Ickes.
No.
Councilman Kelly is absent. And Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass 0-6.
Is it possible to do all these repositories as a consent vote to avoid all the reading a second time?
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so we're going to do the rest of them as a consent vote. Should I just go ahead and just do the rest of them as a consent vote? Okay, so X, Y, and Z, double A and double B will all be as a consent. Councilman Beatty.
no,
Councilman Butterbaugh.
No.
Councilwoman Klinich.
No.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
No.
Councilman Ickes.
No.
Councilman Kelly is absent. Mayor Pacifico.
No.
And the consent vote on the repository, the remaining repositories, does not pass 0-6. Then we have item Q. Appointing Devin Henninger to the Blighted Property Review Committee for a term of 1 year. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2026. Councilman Beatty.
no,
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
Councilman Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly is absent, Mayor Pacifico,
Yes.
and the vote passes 5-1. We have ordinances on the agenda this evening. There's 4 of them, and they're all for adoption. The first one is incurring lease rental debt as defined in the Pennsylvania Local Government Unit Debt Act in a principal amount not to exceed $6,750,000, evidenced by its guarantee of 100% of the payments due under a debt obligation of the Altoona Water Authority issued to the Penvest in connection with the sanitary sewer system operated by the authority and pay related expenses, authorize and guarantee agreement by and among the city as guarantor, the authority and Penvest as lender, securing the debt obligation, pledging 1, certain sewer system lease revenues of this city, 2, the full faith credit and taxing powers of this city in the support of its guarantee, appointing a sinking fund depository in connection with such guarantee and authorizing related actions and documents. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance this
So
evening?
moved. We could do this as a governing body if you guys want to.
It's fine.
Okay. This ordinance was introduced by the governing body then? Is that okay? All right.
Peace on earth.
Okay, we have the second ordinance for introduction, which is an ordinance of the city amending the code of the city, specifically Chapter 98 entitled Personnel Policies, adding Section 11.9 Voluntary Leave Donation Program, repealing all other ordinances or parts of laws in conflict therewith, providing severability of provisions, and providing an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
Yeah.
This ordinance was introduced by Vice Mayor Ellis. The third ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Altoona amending the code of the City of Altoona, Chapter 550, entitled Property Maintenance, adopting the International Property Maintenance Code 2021 edition, repealing of all inconsistent provisions, and establishing an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
I'll do that one.
This ordinance was introduced by Councilman Beatty. The fourth ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Altoona amending the code of the City of Altoona, Chapter 711, entitled Vehicles, Storage of, changing the title to Vehicles, Storage of, and Parking, adding recreational vehicle and vehicle parking requirements to the code, repealing all inconsistent provisions, reaffirmation of Chapter 711 as amended, and establishing an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
This ordinance was introduced by Councilman Butterbaugh.
All right. City manager updates.
I have nothing significant to report.
Thank you. Council discussion items. Councilman Ickes.
Mayor, I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
I just want to commend the employees for the one ordinance there with the sharing and just stepping up for one another like that. That's a blessing to see that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Ellis.
Yes, I'd like to address one thing that has been probably a real pain in the neck for all of us, and that's these street cuts. I know we've had some releases to the media about it, and there's been some media stories about it, but I would like to look at maybe changing the ordinance that will give us a little bit of teeth so that if there is issues on 1 or 2 blocks where the contractors are working, that they are not permitted to continue on to the next block until the block they're working on is brought up to some type of standard that's acceptable. So I don't know where we're at with that now and what it'll require as far as inspections are concerned, but this thing got way too out of control, and I propose this is a way to maybe control it better in the future.
Should we be permitted to do that, I would support that entirely.
We'd want to work with all the rounding up of the usual suspects to make sure what makes the best plan
Well,
as far as number of blocks, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that is. Staff certainly will be able to give us an idea what they're capable of and how much rope should be given to this kind of thing. But I think we all agree that what occurred here over the last 14 or 15 months needs to be corrected. And
We
that's our
got
respons-
hit with the perfect storm because the water folks have been under mandates to replace all their lines that don't meet the latest greatest standards, and same with the gas company. They have to replace, and apparently the city of Altoona was one of the toughest ones in the East Coast, just because all our lines were like substandard there for a while. So I'm really hoping that after this year we can get up to speed and keep up.
Yeah,
We
I'm
did-
sure people don't
yeah.
want to hear this, but it's a good thing that this is happening.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
The infrastructure is being
Yeah.
updated, but it's creating a start.
But
throughout
I
the
would
community.
definitely be supportive of your idea.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd like to address the blighted property review committee vote. I truly believe that, Devin is a fine young man, but I really feel that when we have an at-large person, that we need to have at least one on a committee that actually does that type of work. And there was an application, and it wasn't followed up on. And I really think that in the future, those type of applications need to be followed up on. We need to have professionalism on these committees to get a better outcome. The city's had 40 years of blight, and there's been very little done about it. We are now tearing down houses, but we also have to fix up houses. And I think that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Councilwoman Klinich.
Yes, I would like to thank the following organizations as I asked them for their help in beautifying Heritage Plaza. And each one of these not only donated flowers, but their time and effort. We all went down one Sunday afternoon and planted all the flowers. And that would be the Women's Club of Altoona, the Rotary Club of Altoona, the Altoona Sunrise Rotary, Blair Regional YMCA, and the Tipsy Tulip donated flowers. So I just appreciated everybody's time and effort, and Heritage Plaza looks really nice.
It does.
So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them.
And you poor guys kept making a date, it would rain, make a date, it would rain. Then at the end, you were all scrambling, getting everything done, and so you did a
Yes.
great job getting all
Yes.
that done.
It did turn out really well, Shelley.
Yes.
Nice work. Questions from the media?
Thank you. Would anybody care to, well, could somebody explain the donations of voluntary leave matter?
I would defer to management.
What is the, and you may have actually told me about this, but I forget. What does the donation of voluntary leave issue mean? Or
So this program will allow city employees to donate their sick time, vacation time, or their personal days to fellow city employees who are having some type of medical event or anything that's a disaster to the family where they've used all their existing leave.
is that a common thing among employers?
Yes, it's fairly common, and it's becoming more and more common, and the federal government uses it as well.
Whose idea was it to have to offer this? I guess.
I proposed this to council members, and I worked in conjunction with the Human Resources Office to craft up the policy. And this was specifically geared towards a city employee who's undergoing a medical crisis. So it was a
You
way
mean
to
an individual?
an individual, so it was a way to support them.
And does it apply to the entire roster of employees?
Yes, if you've been employed by the city for more than 1 year, you're eligible to donate to an affected employee. And we did secure memorandums of agreement from all the bargaining units for their complete concurrence.
And is it possible, must the donation be to a particular individual or not necessarily?
Yes, it's case specific to an individual.
So somebody can't just donate to whoever might need it in the future, that sort of thing?
No, it's a bona fide need. The policy spells out the guidelines for it, and then the application process.
So the targeted individual or the beneficiary needs to have an actual need that's documented?
That's documented, and that individual has to make a request for employees to donate leave.
Bill, I think it's more pointed toward if you exhaust your benefits. So if you're off longer than you have benefits for, then, you can make the request to get an extension of your benefits.
Okay. And can you say whether anybody has offered that, or is it not, this just hasn't started yet?
No, this hasn't started. This was the first read of the ordinance. The second read will be at the July council meeting, and if approved, it'll go into effect immediately.
So it can be approved in July then?
Correct, if council chooses to approve it.
Okay. I know I've heard about this before and written about it even, I guess, but could somebody briefly explain the Blighted Property Review Committee revival, what the benefits of that will be or what the purposes will be?
Yeah, Bill, that board will work with the code enforcement staff who will be out identifying the properties, bringing to the board, kind of giving them an assessment of, what they've found with the property and kind of give their staff level opinion on, what the next best course of action is for that property.
And this would be an attempt to get more properties rehabilitated rather than demolished. Is that fair to say?
This is, it's a requirement of what statute is that, Mike? Us having a functioning BPRC was a requirement of one of the statutes. That's kind of getting
It's
back in line with that, Bill.
It's the Redevelopment Act. We have to have that for vacant property owners, people who are not responding to any enforcement of codes, any blighted property. This will clear the way for the RA once they're identified as blighted. Then the RA can use their powers to intervene. A lot of the houses we lose are because they're unoccupied, or the owner has died, or they're a absentee owner. They may live out of state. So this will just give the city more ability to intervene in the houses other than using CDBG money and tearing them down.
And primarily it enables you to use eminent domain to take those houses, right?
In the event that there's no response, we would be able to make an offer, a reasonable offer, and if that offer was refused, then that would be one of the tools we would have to do it.
But which you can't use without this, right?
Yeah, we cannot use it
Okay.
without this.
Okay. Matt, could you say what the criteria you used to choose the people that you nominated for the BPRC?
Yeah, I looked for people that weren't going to have a conflict of interest. A lot of the applications, people had conflicts of interest. They had a lot of property or whatever other reasons. Yeah, so I was seeking out younger people to get involved and came across Matt and Devin. Which, by the way, Devin, I have full faith that you will be perfect on this board, by the way. Yeah, you're welcome.
And Ron, can you say why? I know you talked about it a little bit, but what sort of professional expertise did you want to see for that?
Well, if you had renovated a house, if you had flipped any houses in the city, if you had bought any real estate, if you'd owned real estate, you know, I think that brings a whole different dimension to decisions that you make. And I think one member would have been wise, because you have a member from the RA, you have a member from the Planning Commission, you have a councilman, and then you have two at-large people. So I believe that one of the at-large people at least should be knowledgeable in how this works. Because, you know, Altoona has a severe issue. You know, this is going to be a busy board for, you know, a period of time. There's quite a buildup of houses that need to be adjudicated through the system. And, you know, if you've remodeled a house, you know what to look for. If you've never done it, then that puts you at a disadvantage. And, you know, the dates on the applications are telling, because the RA board approved Alan Thompson in April, and I think that the Planning Commission also approved it in April. And here we are at this point, and we still don't have people on it. So if you look back, I have copies of the dates of whenever the talent banks were submitted, and then whenever they were picked. So there was a lot of time there to do more investigation for people and people to participate, and that wasn't taken.
Matt, do you see the kind of criteria that Ron would like to see as potential conflicts of interest rather than as an advantage? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, if we found the right person. I did not see that person. I did not see that application, so.
But what I mean is, do you think that having lots of experience in buying properties and flipping them or that sort of thing, it can be a conflict of interest rather than an advantage in
Could
this?
be, yeah.
Only if you're bidding on the house, Bill. There's a lot of boards that people sit on that make decisions that if they're not personally involved in it, it doesn't matter.
Would anybody care to comment on what Mr. I believe his name's Scully talked about?
Yeah, Bill, I'll take that one. As he pointed out, this is not an easy problem to deal with. I've been active on the homeless task force operations for the last couple years, and it is virtually a drain on our resources here in the city. The police, the fire. Our fire chief has stepped up and has been very active with his staff dealing with some of the homeless things. We have seen an uptick in issues in the downtown. We have, as the mayor pointed out, we've met with some of the social service agencies to discuss avenues to maybe put these people on to make more progress in their lives or to get them into a better place. But unfortunately, that population sort of rotates. So when you get some herded in for help, more seem to appear. So it's an ongoing process that we're well aware of. I will commend Chief Swope for putting together, I'll use the term loosely, but a task force working with social service agencies specifically to address some of the issues that we're seeing downtown. But it's going to be an ongoing fight. I don't want to use the term fight. I'm going to use it's going to be an ongoing project.
Yeah, it's a real challenge.
And we're not the only city that's dealing with it, obviously. So, and I think our problem's a little bit smaller than some of the other ones, but I think the hard work that's been done, you know, by the city to manage it has been very helpful.
And Councilman Ellis has spent a lot of time and has put in a lot of effort. We had that tent city starting over by A Street, and several got very involved to make sure that that wasn't going to turn into a major issue. And there are a lot of people in town that have gotten involved and are really working hard. But we've looked at two, what we would consider big problems tonight: blight and homelessness. And the real challenge with both of those issues is neither of those are a root problem. Both of those are problems that are the impact of the other real issue at the root of the problem. And so
Which is
like
what?
homelessness
Which is what?
sorry?
Which is what?
Well, like homelessness is an issue because of a root issue, and yeah, and a lot of times it's a mental health issue. Like a lot of times the homeless people, if you could buy them a house right now, put them in it, and you would think everything would be good, they'd be right back out in the street 2 days later, and the house would still be there unoccupied. A lot of times it's just the poor folks have mental health issues, and it's hard to figure out how to handle those challenges, because there is help around here. There are various agencies where people work very hard, but if people aren't capable of getting that help, or don't, or are not cognizant to seek that help, and that's the challenge of dealing with that. And the same with blight. Like blight is an issue, blight is a problem, but it's always, there's a root, there's a reason for that problem. And so you can't just fix the blight and the blight's fixed. There's the root problems that you have to address, and that's what makes the problem of blight and homelessness so challenging, because they are not root problems that you could just fix and they're fixed. They're still the real reason for the homelessness. They're still the real reason for the blight.
You mean they're more like symptoms than?
Yeah, exactly. They're symptoms. Very good.
Bill, I also want to make a point that to the tent issue that Councilman Butterbaugh brought up, we were made aware of the tents back about 2 years ago. We're starting to collect in different parts of the city. And actually, initially, Councilman Dickus and I got drafted into some of this stuff. And Council's been very clear through this whole process in supporting the work that we've done, that we don't believe that the solution when people come and ask for help is that they're handed a tent and a sleeping bag from a social service agency, okay? I personally don't believe, and I don't think this council believes, that that is a solution to a homeless person's problem, okay? And that's been my standard going forward dealing with this, that we need to get these social service agencies involved in some of the root causes that these people are dealing with. And that can be a challenge, because a lot of people that are having issues don't want to deal with those issues, right? So, you know, we've done things like warming centers. The Salvation Army has stepped up and doing coaling centers, providing meals and things like that. But again, it's an ongoing process, and we're trying to give these people direction so that they can get the support that they need in their lives.
And we're working on the solution. As downtown improves, each time a building improves and cleans up, it makes our city better, makes our city cleaner, less problem. Same with the slums, same with the blight. As we clean up the blight, as we get buildings either repaired or the ones that are too far gone, as we tear those down, the more cleanup, the more improvement, the more solution to the problems at hand.
Okay. Oh, would somebody explain to me what the purpose of the recreational vehicle addition to the parking requirements or the parking regulations is?
Bill, I can share that with you. the International Property Maintenance Code has a section on vehicles that states that no unregistered, unlicensed motor vehicle is permitted on a property. This current ordinance was a conflict with that. So we made some changes in this ordinance to reflect what was in the property maintenance. The other issues, we added the recreational vehicle, and it really is to include boats, travel trailers, and campers. And it was to prevent front yard and side yard parking. Many times, not many times, but we have received an increase number of complaints from residents in neighborhoods that people were parking on their front yards or in their front yards, with the rain and everything else, when it's not on a stabilized surface, mud and dirt track off and on throughout over the sidewalk and onto the street. We didn't have any code to refer to for anything like that.
Do you mean, does that apply to cars too, or just?
It would be apply to vehicles, correct?
Any vehicles?
If you're parked in a front yard and you're not on an approved parking surface, then it would apply.
And that didn't exist before?
No.
Okay. And there were complaints that kind of led you to do that?
Yeah, not only did we have complaints, and generally they were all in neighborhoods, of course, but we had complaints and also upon visual inspection by our code officers as well. It seems that, obviously people have more vehicles probably than they used to. If they run out of parking, it's understandable, but it has to be an approved parking surface.
And Rebecca, would that have to deal with unregistered and unlicensed vehicles parked on side lots and houses?
It's actually, the way this reads currently, it's any vehicle or any vehicle that's parked that somebody just decides to park in their front yard. But this ordinance also includes, it did say no more than one unlicensed, unregistered, or inoperable vehicle per property. But the property maintenance code says no inoperable, unlicensed, or uninspected. So we changed this ordinance to reflect the property maintenance code, which says none.
Because I think there's a few other repair shops around town that could do away with some abandoned vehicles also, so I think
Definitely.
that would be helpful.
Is that all, Bill?
I think I have one more thing here. Except I can't figure out what I wrote. I'll ask afterwards. When I figure it out.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.